This is the 2025 Volkswagen ID.7 Tourer. Think of it as a really plush Passat, all electric, lots more luxury features and quite an impressive range. I'm here today at Volkswagen headquarters in Milton Keynes to test drive this car and show you all around it, to show you all of its features and see how it drives on the road. And if you're interested in purchasing one of these used, please check out my affiliates Players Cars Premium in the description below, where you can find a fantastic deal on a used car, low APR, and deal with them through WhatsApp and DMs rather than faffing about with emails. If they don't have what you want, they can find it for you. So check them out in the description below. So let's take this thing on a full tour and get it out on the road. So then, the ID.7, this one being in Tourer form, but they do also have a saloon hatchback kind of situation. So the standard one isn't an estate, but it does still have a large hatch, which makes it more practical than rivals such as the Tesla Model 3. Kind of similar to your Passat, but as you can probably see by the dimensions, this thing is actually a little bit taller and generally a bit larger than your equivalent estate car. And I think that's a really good thing for not only comfort, but also practicality. So the range starts from around £51,000 here in the UK, and the standard models all get the same drivetrain. So it's a rear wheel drive, 282 horsepower, 0 to 60 around 6.5 seconds. So the base model has a 77 kilowatt hour battery, and then the Pro S model has a 86 kilowatt hour battery. So the lesser one gets 379 miles of range and the larger one 433 miles of range. And then there is a range topping GTX with all-wheel drive, 4Motion, 335 horsepower, 5.4 seconds to 60, 364 miles of range, and they all weigh around sort of 2.2 tons ish. So actually it's quite easy to choose from, and at the moment there are only 2 trim levels that you can have apart from the GTX Plus. So the Pro Match Plus is the entry level car, and it comes with quite a generous spec as standard, including 15-inch display, 360 cam, massage seats, triple zone climate control, augmented reality head-up display, which is really good, keyless entry, the IQ lighting system with matrix LEDs, electric tailgates, and 19-inch wheels as standard. And then the Pro S model from 54,000 with the increased battery capacity. And then the range topping GTX Plus 59,000 with 20-inch wheels, Harman Kardon 700-watt audio system, dynamic chassis control as standard, which I highly recommend on this car. So the only thing to bear in mind is that there is quite a few option packs. So there's an interior pack, which is £2,000, which has Harman Kardon sound, ventilated seats, and luggage and storage pack, which is something that's standard on the GTX Plus. And then there's an exterior pack, which has dynamic chassis control, progressive steering, laminated glass for sound insulation. That's around £1,000, but if you spec it up to £2,100, you can also get an additional panoramic roof included in that as well, which I'll show you shortly. So quite a few specs to choose from. This one is finished in Stonewash Blue Metallic, which is a no-cost option. This is one of the standard colours, and this one is also fitted with a few of the options, including the exterior pack and so on. And you can see actually it's quite a nice thing, quite muted shape. There's no major aggressive lines here. Like, I do quite like this colour actually. It's kind of just a bluish silver. Reminds me of lightning silver on the old Vauxhalls. And as we go around the back, you can see we do have a full light bar on the rear of the car as well. So yeah, quite muted in terms of exterior styling, but it does remind me of the newer Audis as well, with those door handles, understated but also very modern. And I think the colour combination on this particular one that I've got here today does help with that. So this one does have animations across the back and an illuminated rear badge, which you can't see because it's very bright out right now, but it does look cool illuminated at night. I'll try and drop a clip of that in so that you can see it. And then at the front we have the IQ lighting LED matrix, which has a light bar that runs across the front of the car, which again gives it a little bit more of that road presence as well. So heading inside the ID.7, it has a touch point for your keyless entry, and they're not real door handles, they're just a button on the back of this section here, which is kind of interesting. It feels quite good though. On the entryway, you do have some ambient lighting built into the doors here, and you do have some nice kind of Alcantara suede material here as well. And materials down the bottom, scratchy plastics, but up here where the touch points are, it's squidgy and nice. You've got a bit of gloss black and your typical switchgear here. This is something that I really dislike on new Volkswagen products. It's just done to make it cheaper, I guess. So you've got 2 window switches for the front, and then if you want to control the back windows, you have to press this capacitive touch button that says rear. I think that is naff, but you know, what can you do? Overall, the design is pretty standard, and you do have space for a bottle in the door bin there. Nothing too exciting though. And you do have these ergo-active seats, which are the ones that have massage. So massage is standard on this as well, which is really good. So you've got some controls for all your electrics down there. And in the ID.7 and all the rest of the ID range, you do have the play and pause buttons, which are your pedals, which is quite a nice little touch. You do have the standard kind of touch button thing here for the lights, which does the trick, and you've got some nice soft touch materials up here on the dash. Inside, it is pretty much what you'd expect of any modern Volkswagen, to be honest, but that being said, it is spacious and does have additional cubbies. So let's step in and I'll show you a little bit more about what this is like. And on the seats, it's quite cool, so you can see the ID inscription there, and these are comfortable seats indeed. You can see you've got a few different materials and some nice contrasting piping as well. So let's step in. So here we are in the ID.7, so you can see you do have quite a spacious front area here, but the dash is quite high. That's something I will say in terms of visibility. When you're looking out, the dashboard does look quite high. In this one, you do have the large glass roof. The pan roof is really cool with this electronic control, so you do just literally swipe your finger and you can see how much the lighting changes in here based on me doing so. It goes from opaque, transparent, opaque, transparent, and it is instant as well. Yeah, it's really cool. We do have the more modern Volkswagen steering wheel here, and unfortunately you do have the kind of touch style buttons on these. I absolutely despise these, and I think that Volkswagen are doing the right thing by going back to the buttons on the majority of cars. It just hasn't reached this just yet. You've got cruise control on your left hand side, and then you've got heated steering wheel and your media controls on this side. They're just a bit fiddly and not nice to use, but they do have the new indicator stalk here, which has all of your functions for your sort of washers built in as well. It kind of feels a little bit Tesla this, and that works just fine. And then on the right hand side you have your swivel for your gear select, which again works absolutely fine, and it does free up this section down here for some configurable storage. So at the moment it's open, but you can close it. I think this is a bit ugly. I don't really like it when this is closed. I think it just looks a little bit fussy. So personally for me, I would probably just keep this open, and it gives you a nice large storage area. You've got space to plug in USB-Cs for your phone, rubber non-slip mat, and you've got some cup holders which also have some nice grips on, and also it's got like a rubberized thing that you can actually remove this to clean it, which is nice and simple as well. Storage area here, and this is very large. This goes right down here. You can see how deep that is, with a movable storage bin as well. And there is also storage underneath the center console there with a rubberized mat. It's not a massive space, but it's bigger than I have seen in some other cars, so that's a nice touch as well. Central climate vent in the middle here, and some more climate vents along the top. It's not the prettiest design, but I think it gets the job done. And this large screen, you get a 15-inch screen as part of the kind of one of the interior packs, and you do have your climate controls on the bottom. You can swipe to increase or decrease the temperature, so that is a bit better now, and they are illuminated these days, which is a massive help. And you do have basically your standard infotainment layer, and on Volkswagens this has got a lot better over the last couple of years. So it used to be a little bit clunky. More recent software updates have made it smoother to operate. The nav is quite good, and you've also got your integrated assistant as well. So IDA actually uses ChatGPT, so you can also swipe down from the top for a list of other functions. So these are like quick shortcuts. So you've got like sound adjustment, all your audio bits and bobs, Harman Kardon sound in this one, and you do have a shortcut to your assist, so to turn off, for example, your speed limit warning. So those functions are always at the top, and you've also got a drive mode select up here as well. With the dynamic chassis control, I would say it does make a big difference in terms of ride comfort and refinement, and having comfort mode on will definitely help that, and sport mode will firm it up as well, but it's not standard across all cars, so just something to be aware of. And then over here we have this display in front of me, which is fantastic. This is what I would kind of hope to see on Teslas and stuff like this. If my Model 3 had one of these, this would be fantastic. It's literally just useful information such as your cruise control, your current speed and what regen braking you're using, current range, and a few other bits, traffic sign recognition and that good stuff. It's a very small display, but it's absolutely fine for what you need. Literally all I need it for. It's almost like a head-up display. You do also have an augmented reality head-up display in this as well, and when you're actually on the roads driving and navigating, it will put arrows on to show you what lane you should be in and stuff. It's a very clever system. But yeah, overall material quality is pretty decent. Squidgy materials where you would really expect them, but I don't expect expect this to light your world on fire in terms of like design. It's functional and it looks okay, and most stuff feels okay apart from down the bottom, and there is some ambient lighting which makes it nice in the evenings, but it's fairly sort of utilitarian. There's nothing too exciting about the design, I don't think, but I like it. I like the way it's laid out. I like the way the infotainment has been massively improved for the newer model years, and I think there is definitely sufficient space in here and loads of headroom for me. I'll show you kind of where I am, my driving position. You can see, like, even with the sunroof, it's masses of headroom, and I'm 6 foot and I'm sitting quite high up as well. So moving on into the back, you do have a massive amount of space back here. It's quite impressive, to be honest. Again, pretty standard door trim with a nice Harman Kardon plate on this one with that optional stereo, and a lovely flat floor back here. So plenty of space if you're going to have a middle passenger. And talking of middle passenger, actually it's fairly wide in comparison to other cars in this class. You can see a bit of that ambient lighting creeping through there on that other door over there. And what is super useful is the pockets on the back of these seats. So you've got your standard kind of mat pocket down here, but you also have these two smaller pockets which would be ideal for something like a phone. Pop that in there and it's a nice safe place to keep it held, which is really cool. And you do have heated seats back here in this model, and you do also have USB-C, which have 45 watt power delivery, so you could slowly charge a laptop with that if you really needed to. Got some tethers back here, and overall material quality is really nice. But what does impress me is actually the comfort. So you can see the seats are angled quite steeply, which means that when I get in, I do have a reasonable amount of thigh support, considering it definitely could be better. But you can see that with this setup in my driving position for 6 foot, actually I do have quite a considerable amount of legroom back here, and also again loads and loads of headroom. Overall, I think I would be pretty happy with a long journey in this. It's comfy back here and it feels spacious. You know, looking ahead, I can see that there is quite a nice open area in the middle, and this large panoramic roof optional on this model definitely helps with that, even in this opaque mode that it's in currently. In the middle here, we do have a armrest with some cup holders and also a pass-through ski hatch if you want to get through to the rear, which you may want to do because unfortunately there is only a 60-40 split in this car, which is less practical than some rivals. But there's definitely a decent amount of width back here, so if you did have a middle passenger, it wouldn't be too much of a pain. And heading round to the rear of the car, this is where things are really cavernous. So this does have the electric tailgate as standard across the range, which is really nice, and there is an absolute mass of space back here. The only thing I would say is definitely the load floor is quite high. You've got a bit of space under there for your cables, and it is a flat load floor, so you can load things in nice and easy. But as you can see, it is quite high up. There's not loads of space down in the car, but nice big practical open in there. And you do also have your load cover, which is adjustable, clicks into place nice and easily, and can also be removed quite easily as well, and will retract like that. And then you do also have the option to lower the seats from back here, although it is manual, so you will have to go around and manually put them back up. And as I mentioned, it is 60-40 rather than 40-20-40. You do also have in this one with the luggage area, you've got this netting in the side which you can put stuff in. You've also got a socket here, but it's not quite as practical as stuff like Kias and Hyundais, which actually have like 3-pin outlets and more tie hooks and stuff like that. But overall, I would say it's a nice large practical space, and you just watch how much bigger it gets when I put these seats down as well. Put these both down, and then look at that, you've got a massive area there, and the option to just take this out with the pressure fit. So if we go round and we have a little look in the back here, you can see it does create a nice open area. This is a bit of a steep angle thanks to that steep slope on the rear seats, so just something to bear in mind if you're loading something. You don't get a completely flat load floor back here, but it's still a nice large practical space, especially thanks to the height of the car. And also worth mentioning as well, when you put the seats back up, the seat belts don't snag. They're designed in such a way that they don't do that, which is always super practical. And the ISOFIX points back here are practical as well, because they've got the pull down covers which click back into place, so you can't take these off and lose them, and they also won't damage the seats by squidging between leather. And if we go into the passenger side, you do also have ISOFIX in the front here, which is not something you see on every car, so that is useful too. So off out driving in the ID.7, the first thing that I can tell you is that this thing is plush with this dynamic chassis control. And when I say plush, I mean like it makes my Tesla Model 3, which is on 18s by the way, feel like a bit of a skateboard. This is definitely really nice, and this kind of feels to me is quite reminiscent of something like a Mercedes EQE. It really is that good. And yeah, obviously changing it into like the sports mode does really firm it up and things like that if you want to start hooning it a little bit, but for day-to-day driving this is really nice. I'm absolutely loving the driving position in here. I can get space for my elbows, and I feel like I've got plenty of space for my legs as well. And this seat is lovely. I feel like I can really stretch my upper back out, but I've got the support from a plush headrest when I need it. It's really super ideal. Like I said before, I'm also really liking how this central display is angled towards me, even though it is huge, as you can see. And I do like the fact that I've got a small display in front of me as well. But to be honest, even if that wasn't there, the HUD does a fantastic job, and it's projecting the directions on screen for me now. Performance, it's not going to knock your socks off, but it's not bad at all. And you do get a bit of a regen braking effect, although it's not the same as something like a Tesla. And the only downside of these is there's no full one pedal drive mode either, so you do have to drive it like a traditional car, which some people might like and some people might hate. I kind of prefer the way that Kia and Hyundai do it, because you've got the paddles which you can then adjust how much regen braking you want, and it gives you the opportunity, if you want to then have one pedal drive, which this does not. So you do have to use the brake to come to a complete stop. There's definitely a big improvement with the laminated glass in this one as well. I can pretty much hear no road noise apart from what's coming through the kind of the chassis and the tyres. This is also one of the safest cars tested recently as well, and I can kind of feel why. It feels like a bit of a tank, even though this is like an estate car. I feel higher up and more SUV like than I would in most estates as well. It's definitely kind of an inflated feeling to it. Obviously the range is fantastic as well. This one has been hooned around as their demo car quite a bit, so it's not showing the best efficiency, but even then at 95% it's still showing 330 miles, so it would definitely be more if you were to drive it a little bit more sensibly. And yes, the infotainment I suppose is still a little bit fussy, but you would tend to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto anyway. And your battery warranty on this is 8 years or 100,000 miles. Now, performance definitely adequate. The GTX obviously is going to be a bit more brisk and a bit more sporty, but this does still have a bit of shove when you put your foot down. And of course I am in the comfort mode as well, so throttle response is dampened. So let's go ahead and change into a sportier mode and see what I think. Straight away I can feel that the car is a little bit more bouncy and a little bit more firm, which gives me a bit of more confidence in terms of how agile it's going to be in the bends. Brakes do require a bit of a stab though to get them going, and the regen effect isn't massive in comparison to some other EVs. Yeah, throttle response is definitely a little bit more violent. You can see if I stab the throttle, yeah, you definitely get a little bit more response from that in this mode. There's also a slightly grindy noise from the brakes, which isn't reassuring, but they definitely are a little bit soft for my preference. Yeah, this there we go, yeah, there we go. Yeah, the sport mode on the DCC definitely makes a difference in terms of the firmness. There was far less body roll there once the dampers had stiffened up. And even now, to be honest, like even with the firmer suspension, it is still not rock hard at all. It still feels quite plush, and you'd be able to be quite comfortably drive this day to day, I think, even in the sport mode. But cost-wise, this is kind of coming in around the BMW i4 and DS number 8 kind of territory. It's more expensive than a Tesla Model 3, and of course that's a very different experience. That is more of a kind of futuristic kind of user experience, I guess, and it's definitely more plush in here in terms of ride comfort, and you're probably going to get similar range as well. So I guess it depends on your preference and what sort of car you prefer to drive. But this is definitely really nice as a long distance cruiser. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as agile as an i4 BMW, but I don't think it's trying to be either. I think the trouble with the Volkswagen options list as well is that once you start adding the stuff that you want, it gets dangerously close to the next trim up, which also has that stuff as standard anyway. So it kind of makes it redundant. And I guess it really depends on what you can get as a new car offer on this, or like what deals are available or what specs are available at the time. The base model absolutely has everything you would ever need, but if you want a bit more range you have to step it up, and then of course if you want the extras such as the dynamic chassis control, which I would 100% recommend because I think that's what really makes the ride in this, then again it's extra. The rear wheel drive can be quite playful as well, which I quite like. In a car of this size and weight, that's always quite reassuring. I think just as a day-to-day experience, it is really nice. I just don't have much confidence in these brakes. They even feel like they fade quite quickly. I do think this would make a fantastic daily driver, especially with this augmented reality HUD. Makes it really easy to see where you're supposed to be navigating. I like the fact that there's a screen here. Apple CarPlay works fantastically, and the infotainment has been improved a great deal, and these seats are really comfortable. The one thing I would be really aware of is the brake fade and the kind of the squishiness of the brakes overall, and also the fact that there is no one pedal drive, which for me, I think in an electric car is a little bit of a deal breaker, because I really like that while sitting in traffic. If you can live with those small caveats, I think this is really a cut above a lot of other cars in this class and price range, and I think this is the best overall interior quality that I've seen in a Volkswagen recently as well. Is it as posh as something like an EQE? No, but it is also a lot cheaper, so I wouldn't necessarily let the price put you off, especially if you can get a good deal on one of these. And like I said, if you're looking for one used, check out my sponsors in the description below, because they'll be able to find you one. If you are comparing it to a Tesla Model 3, and a lot of people probably will, I've literally driven to this event today in a Tesla Model 3, and getting into this, I'm missing the one pedal drive, I'm missing the less fiddly infotainment, but this rides better by a long way. Yeah, I'd be happy doing lots of miles in this, I think. Yeah, I'd say the main word I could describe it as is just refined. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks to Volkswagen for inviting me down to their headquarters in Milton Keynes today to check out a few cars, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It goes such a long way, you don't even know. Bye bye.